What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Karen Oliver here, and welcome to Inside HQ. We're coming to you straight from World of Dance headquarters, but this podcast isn't about what happens inside of these walls. It's about the incredible people on the outside who are building the movement, shaping the culture, and keeping the community alive. I'm super excited to introduce today's guest, the one and only Azuki Umeda!
Yay!
Yeah! Azuki is a professor at Chapman University. She's an instructor at Movement Lifestyle, Offstage, and Liminal. She is an Artist Simply Human faculty member. She is also the director and founder of Authenticity. Yay. Did I miss anything?
No,
I don't think so.
You're good.
All right, let's get started. I'm so ready. Can you just share a little bit about your background and how you got into choreography?
Yeah. Well, first of all, shout out to Chapman. Chapman was my home for 4 years, and then now I'm teaching. So very, very grateful for the opportunities and the resources that they provided me. And fun fact, well, not so fun fact, I had 3 knee surgeries, and that really hindered my performative career. But at the same time, in a blessing in disguise, it helped me recognize my choreographic voice. And there were, tons of choreographic opportunities, and I took them. And from there, I was like, I want to keep creating and do different festivals and performances, and just said yes to everything. And then from there, I was just like, it just kept kind of becoming a snowball effect of having opportunities to teach, choreograph, and I'm here now.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your cultural identity currently and how you represent yourself?
Yeah, I am a first generation Japanese American woman. And that's something that I didn't really realize that until grad school. And I went to grad school at CSU Long Beach, and there were so many different cultural identities there, and made me recognize, like, whoa, like, I'm also part of it too. Mm-hmm. So it has kind of gained a lot of knowledge and just opportunities for me to expand my artistic voice kinesthetically.
Right. When did you first start reflecting on your identity as an artist? Was there like a very specific moment that you remember?
Yeah. My senior year of college, I really wanted to tackle my Japanese identity and talk about like World War II and like Pearl Harbor and all of that, and researched a lot. And I just recognized how much like Japanese mannerism is very different from American mannerism, in a way that like Japanese people are very proper and all of that. And I was like, whoa, like this is like a cultural like identity crisis in a way. And then COVID happened in March. So I was a senior in college, and I was like, I still want to keep creating. I still want to keep researching. And then I got into grad school to explore and dive in deeper about my cultural identity.
Right. And how do you feel like this identity has influenced the work you've done since then?
Yeah, I think for me, I've noticed that, and this is like something I'm still kind of figuring out, the way that Japanese people talk are very staccato. If you hear like anime or something, they're very, very staccato. And that has influenced my movement vocabulary to be very staccato. Whereas like more American language, romantic language is a lot more fluid, is what I have recognized and still research. So that like coincides in a way of trying to figure out that like movement fluidity and the staccato-ness of it. So yeah, it's still kind of like, I'm still figuring it out in a way, but at the same time, I'm very grateful for just like the opportunities for me to recognize my cultural identity at the same time.
No, 100%. I kind of want to know a little bit more about specifically your cultural identity influencing your work and vice versa. Like, do you feel like there's been an evolution throughout your work where it kind of like your identity now is super different than it was back then because of your work?
Yeah, I think like the artists that I use are very intentional. So a lot of the artists that I use are AAPI, POC, and I love knowing their background. I'm actually like doing a show this weekend to MIA, and I just love her like cultural identity there, and trying to like empathize with her kind of background is always like a fun challenge, but also like it provides me with different movement vocabulary too. So.
You had a show, How I Became Kinder and Kinder. I was able to go and watch. It was a beautiful, beautiful show. I would like to know, how do you feel like your artistry and your identity were influencing this show specifically?
Yeah. How I Became Kinder and Kinder was a show that talked about just loving your past self back when you didn't really know, or this figure didn't really know who they were as someone who is first generation Asian American. And the culture, it just, for me, I think it started off very broad of when I was creating, it was about like just memories or trauma or something like that. And then from there, I found this incredible Asian transgender artist. Her name is Lucy Liao. And she kind of tackled and was so vulnerable about her work. The taboo on going to therapy as an Asian figure. And from there, I was like, I think I want to just talk, like kind of collaborate on Lucy's story, on how, what it is to be a first generation Asian artist, and talking about something that we don't really talk about in society today and things like that. So that process was actually, I think it was like a 2-year process of creating this like 60-minute work. And it was so hard for me to recognize all the like past things that I went through, and didn't really realize that it was a very personal work until I was like creating it, and I was like, whoa, this is really it's out there. But it has healed my heart, it has healed my childhood trauma. Like dance truly heals, and that is truly what How I Became Kinder and Kinder helped me with. Yeah.
You mentioned kindness in the title of your work. What does kindness mean to you in the context of your cultural identity and self-expression?
I think being comfortable with your own skin, but also like having your heart on your sleeve. And that really is what my company, that's the goal. That's the mission statement of authenticity, is to love and find kindness to who you are as a, whatever like identity you are. And I am first generation, I am a woman, I am Asian, I'm also queer, and I'm also, I just found out that I'm on the spectrum and all of these things. And it's just not being like, oh my gosh, I am a minority, and having these opportunities like kind of be like, but rather embracing it and like understanding yourself. And I'm still learning about myself every single day, and utilizing those resources to kinesthetically heal and kinesthetically provide those opportunities to other people to just share and dance.
You were talking about the message that your work had behind it and how it kind of originated in the first place. Do you feel like you got your intended message across to your audience? Like, how do you feel was the show perceived?
Yeah, this actually was my my thesis for my grad school, and there was a 30-minute version, and then a venue contacted me to do a 60-minute version. And to be honest with you, the 30-minute version was the most incredible, like, experience that I've ever had. It was a sold out show and we got like a standing ovation. It was just like the most surreal experience, and I still talk to my dancers to this day about how like just it was a fever dream. Whereas like the 60-minute work, I felt like I was doing it honestly for my own self-growth and just my own healing of the heart to just say how much I love myself, but also how much I love my family. And my parents actually came. My parents came, and my mom was like, they really loved it, and that is like what mattered the most. And they haven't seen me dance like that ever. So it was just such a surreal moment. But yeah, the evening link show and the 60-minute work, I feel as though like it was long, but also, and it was one of the longest pieces that I've ever made. I never make 60-minute work. Like it's only 2 minutes and then bam. I feel like everybody has different backgrounds and different perceptions on what they see and what they believe in. But I think it's just from here recognizing and letting them just educating them what it is to be a first generation Japanese American. So
no, I feel like it's always the biggest dream to create an evening length work, create a show. You're wanting to build your artistry and find your identity and show that to the audience and to the world. And I think as attention spans continue to get shorter, it's very hard for us as artists to
for sure, yeah,
make work that's valuable to an audience that has kind of that lengthier substance to it.
Yeah.
So props to you for accomplishing that.
Thank you.
Was there any specific feedback that you received from the show that really, really stuck with you?
Yeah. I have two opposite ends of the spectrum, and one was in the thesis version. One of there was a composer that came, and he. I still I get very emotional thinking about this, but he told me, he was like, I have never been moved watching a work like this, and it looked like I was watching Da Vinci paint Mona Lisa, or he also said or the Beatles compose Yesterday, and I was like, what? That was crazy. So thank you for that incredible words. Whereas in the evening link show, they also had a critic. There were a few critics that came, and it was my first time getting a piece reviewed, and the critic basically said, and she doesn't it seemed like she didn't really have a whole lot of background with what the piece was about, and she basically was like, I didn't really understand Azuki didn't successfully talk about her Asian American childhood trauma, and I felt very personal within those words. But then, and it took me a little bit to kind of get back up and be like, okay, I have to create more. But those words were just like, oh shoot, not a lot of people really understand what I'm going through. And it's also personal work. And I think it's just when something is so personal and some people don't understand it, it's what can I do, you know? But that's what I love about dance is what can I do? That's the question that I can always think about and expand on future works so that it feels relatable for other people in the near future. But also it's this is my work too, and it is personal, and if it is personal, not many people might not understand, and that's okay. So
100%. I feel like dance is such a personal thing, and putting work out there is so terrifying, and then receiving feedback that you might not love, because it is kind of hard when there's a difference between receiving constructive criticism versus just plain criticism. And dance is so subjective that, one person's opinion, it's just unfortunate that one person's opinion is being broadcasted. However, I props to you for taking it with grace and using that to kind of keep fueling your fire. Based on obviously this, you've had positive and negative experiences along with presenting work to the people.
For sure.
Do you ever kind of grapple with the concept of including your heritage in your work versus keeping it personal to yourself?
Yeah. I think, how I became Kinder and Kinder really started off as just like memories, trauma, and like just those ideas. My thesis research was about synesthesia, which is basically when you hear something, other senses kind of unfolds. So that was my initial research, and then my brain was just like, oh, it went to other things, more personal stuff. But I think right now I feel as though like when you do something so personal, it means so much to you that if something happens or if one small, I don't know, negative thing happens, like you're just like, ugh, because you care so much. And I want to like let people know that you don't have to be so gung-ho about something, and maybe it could just be a little bit of a gray area. It's okay to have that gray area. And that's something I'm also like going through and researching and trying to figure out. But I feel like there's not necessarily like a right or wrong in how you can create or how you can choreograph, and just letting things unfold. And that's how I created Kinder. So yeah.
I feel like whenever I create work that involves more of my heritage, I feel pressured to represent something 100% perfectly, where it's going to honor every single person that's watching it. Absolutely. That relates to, that specific identity that I'm representing. And that feeling that that's not being accomplished is such a difficult feeling, because you feel so personal to it and you feel so represented that, sharing that with others and them not feeling the same way is a difficult thing. But it's always kind of like a play whether you input more of your identity versus not, because there is that aspect of things. So it becomes a little difficult.
Yeah. And I want to like give the biggest shout out to my cast. I actually worked with, a lot of people with this process, but my dancers are the reason why we were able to create something like this. And I remember doubting myself. I'm like, I don't know if I could create this, like whatever. But I remember like all my dancers being like, dude, just do it. Like, no one's stopping you. And we created something that I won't forget. So I'm just so grateful for my cast. So thank you.
Obviously, we're talking about how much of yourself you're putting into the work. And with that comes appreciation versus expectation of people that might feel identified by your work as well.
Absolutely.
So how do you kind of find that balance between the two when you're building something new?
Yeah, I think about the movement, like process-wise, I think about the movement more and just like introducing the movement vocabulary to the dancers and not putting a whole lot of pressure into like what the piece is about and all of that. And then from there, once they feel comfortable, once they feel like they can empathize with where my movement is at kinesthetically, I could then empathize, or they could empathize with me with what the piece is about. I did a flashlight piece one time, and they were just like, why am I just like holding this? What is this about? Like I didn't know what we were doing. And the thing is, like, once the piece was made and once we just heard the song, and once we were able to set the scene, we were understanding the world that we were trying to create. So I think it's just really about the balance of empathy and recognizing the environment and the space that you could create to your dancers. And then from there, it's from the choreographer to the dancer and then now to the audience. And I think the dancer trying to empathize to the audience is the most like challenging thing, because it's from like one person to like 5 to 10 people as dancers, and then to just thousands of people. And it's like, I mean, the dancers have so much responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, and I know how hard my stuff is. I know how fast I know how fast my stuff is. I know how stressful my stuff is, but they're like, it's just so incredible to see my dancers just go and trust me and trust themselves and trust others. So yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Azuki and I know each other pretty well. I have been able to, and lucky enough to be able to be a part of quite a few of Azuki's processes, and it's literally been a great experience. But when she mentions that her work is difficult, it is difficult. It is hard, and I say that from experience. It is really, really hard. It's very fast-paced, intricate movement, very isolation-based,
Yes,
and picking up that choreography as a dancer and having kind of that pressure to present it on stage is already difficult on its own. And then on top of that, being able to kind of add that layer of performance, of like meaning to the movement, and then being able to, again, empathize with the audience is such a difficult thing to achieve.
Yeah.
So props to anyone that's ever worked with Azuki, because
Truly.
I know exactly how you feel. How do you feel like, you have a need to represent your community every time that you create work?
I don't think too much of like, okay, I have to create something for my like fellow whoever and things like that. I think the dance will speak for itself, but also it's like intention, like just intentionally. I feel like I naturally kind of create that, like I'm working with like artists, for example. The music artists are POC. The people that I work with are mostly POC, and or different minority backgrounds, and just working with them is already for me kind of working with the community. And then I think right now that I'm working on is just like the audience that I want to provide, and just educating them with the creations that I do that is intentional with my heritage, my cultural identity.
I feel like a lot of people assume that when you are focused on representing your community in your work, that it means that it has to be directly related to whatever the concept is behind your work, when that's not always the case.
Yeah.
I mean, as you mentioned, working with your community is
Absolutely.
also a form of representation. The people that you're seeing actually dance on stage is a form of representation, even
For
if
sure.
the work has a completely different meaning.
Absolutely.
So it's very refreshing to hear you explain that in this way.
Yeah.
But now let's switch on over to a completely different topic.
Okay.
I want to talk about authenticity, performing at WAD LA. That was super exciting. I was able to watch. It was an incredible piece.
Thank
One
you.
of my top 3 pieces of the entire night for sure.
Oh my gosh,
It was
that's so
beautiful to watch. And for those of you that don't know, I was able to co-host a live stream on this day, and I was able to commentate live on the performance as it was happening, it was a really, really weird experience for me, because
like
obviously it is a ESPN basically, and I'm like talking about you and talking about all the dancers that I'm seeing on stage that I also know very personally as well, and I had no idea who you were bringing. So it was just a really full circle moment for me as well, being able to talk about, like Gabby, Nia, Sarah, who are all my friends, and they're all performing for Azuki, and it was a beautiful piece. But I want to know what this moment meant to you, especially knowing and being part of the world dance community for a while. What was like headlining?
For sure. You? I mean, you kind of said it, like full circle moment. I wanted to bring, some of the people to World of Dance, because World of Dance creates such a community, like a communal base. And I remember last year when I presented, it was the most incredible, enriching, and inspiring moment for me to realize like I need to keep creating, because I was at a pretty low point, and that was like at that time last year, that was right when How I Became Kinder and Kinder happened, and I had the really like the worst post-show depression.
Yeah.
Post-show depression is real, you guys. Like it's like I've done this for 2 years and then I'm like, oh my God, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's so weird to process, but I was going through that, and I remember going to World of Dance with my cast and watching the battles, watching the headliners, watching everybody compete. I was like, wow, everybody just loves dance. And so I wanted to bring more people in for this show for this year. And again, it's people from Chapman, people from Long Beach, people from like I honestly saw from classes, and I was like, you need to work with me kind of thing. And that's where the connection comes from. It's like if you consistently take my class and if you vibe, like I want to work with you.
100%. Yeah.
So it was a really cool full circle moment. I wanted them to experience what World of Dance was, and I think they enjoyed it. So
yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't understand that going to a World of Dance event doesn't only mean competing on a stage or performing as exhibition on a stage and then you're done and then that's your day and then you get your beautiful stage video that you're able to post on social media. The actual experience of the full day is so immersive. There are so many things happening at once. There's so many moving parts, and a huge shout out to the World of Dance team, obviously, for making the whole thing happen. But again, you were mentioning like the battles happening in one space, and then you have the show happening in another space, and then you have the headliner show at the end of the day. But then there's also like media opportunities all over the place, and you get to really mix the entire community into one building. And you're walking around and you're like, I know almost everyone here, and you keep running into all your friends, and it is just such a beautiful world. I personally love to be in. And having other people and giving them the opportunity to experience that is incredible, which like also props to you for doing that. I would love to know what your hopes for authenticity in the future are.
Oh my gosh, that's a big question, Karen. Well, first of all, World of Dance, like I'm so grateful for you guys for providing this opportunity. Thank you, Karen, for this opportunity to like have this conversation. And it's just filled with gratitude. And it's weird. Well, it's not weird, but every day I wake up with gratitude. I always am like, wow, I'm so thankful for like everything. And I think that's where authenticity is going to keep on going, is like recognize and remind ourselves with gratitude and keep on finding projects that resonate with us, and just share the love of dance. And I love dance so much, like so much. And to the point that like, I just like, I don't have other hobbies. Maybe I do, but but I just love the fact that I'm able to do what I love to do and keep on doing that. This is actually news for you. And if you're listening to this is probably like the last part of like the podcast and stuff like that. So you like, thank you for like watching this, but I'm actually moving to New York. In January. I'm actually getting my somatic certification. I know.
Wait. Cut the camera. Wait. Why? Or, I mean, yes,
Why?
You just explained why, but how long, and will you be back? And then
I will be back.
Will
yes.
you be teaching?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're like, what? But I kind of wanted to do that like surprise moment for this episode. I'm kidding. Yeah, a little surprise, but no one knows. Well, maybe now you will know. But I'm getting my like somatic certification, which is basically like why we move like like this or why we walk like this and things like that. So I want to research that for a little bit. Somatic really comes from a Eurocentric approach, very modern. And my goal is to provide this accessibility within somatics in a dance form like jazz or hip hop. And I want to research that. So I kind of want to try the East Coast a little bit and then bring all the resources back, hopefully gain more community and gain more opportunities for authenticity in the East, and then bring it back to here.
Is there like a timeline that you're planning on staying out there for, or are you just going and seeing how it goes and then?
Yeah, going and seeing how it goes. But I know I'll be back. Like, I'm putting my stuff in the storage unit. So
okay.
I'm like, wow, we're being personal here. But yeah, that's the vibe.
To be determined.
TBD.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was a great moment that you chose to tell me this.
Right now, this moment.
Right now, live on camera. But I'm so happy for you. Thanks. Genuinely, I think there will be so much growth that comes from this experience for you. I think traveling and dance is always the most eye-opening and refreshing thing. Yeah. I mean, personally, when I'm able to travel back to Mexico and dance there, it's such a like eye-opening experience and just amplifying of cultural identity, like how we've been talking about. Yeah. So I just really foresee great things for you in this like new venture that you're taking on, and I'm excited to see where it takes you for sure.
Oh, thanks.
That is exciting. I completely forgot what my next question is. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. She's surprised.
Yeah.
She's just like speechless.
I am speechless.
I'm speechless too.
I would love to manifest some stuff for you right now in this moment, especially on this topic of brand new things for you. But is there a specific project? It can be authenticity related or yourself as a choreographer / performer related. But is there a specific project that is your dream project?
Dream project. Oh my gosh.
An artist that you would love to work for?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Lucy Liao underscores did Where Did You Fall, which was my World of Dance headlines. I mean, freaking Regina Spektor, so amazing. I mean, just I don't know, my my music artists are so vast, but also I want to Audrey Nuna, absolutely. But I think what would be really, really cool is to provide authenticity and like do like a tour or something like that. Whether it's like a music artist or even having a show and touring in different places. I've thought about it, but it's like, wow, this is a lot of work.
It's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, but I mean, we're manifesting, everybody. And, you never know. So I'm just grateful that I am able to kind of like do things that I can like check off, like goals. And it's crazy that I'm able to physically check things off. Yeah. I'm like, what? I just did this, or like, I just did World of Dance.
Yeah.
But it's like now, what's my next goal? And that's what is so cool about this career is like you could keep on checking those goals.
Yeah, you just keep climbing.
Yeah.
I mean, and even subconsciously, you're already kind of facilitating this for yourself by, obviously, you're an ASH faculty member, and you travel a lot for dance. A lot.
Yes.
You didn't know. But she does travel quite a lot, and you're already kind of facilitating subconsciously this dream that you have for authenticity by making all of these connections in different parts of the United States. And then obviously moving out to New York, you're building all of these connections that in the future will somehow lead to you being able to accomplish this dream for authenticity. And I can totally see that happening.
Yeah.
So it is so much work to put on a show, let alone a tour, especially by yourself. But I can see how you're kind of subconsciously putting that together for yourself, and I can see it happening.
Yeah.
I'll purchase a ticket for sure.
Aw, yay.
I would love to know a little bit more about authenticity specifically and combining kind of what we talked about earlier, your cultural identity. How do you feel like you implement that identity in your teachings and authenticity?
Teachings.
Slash choreography.
Yeah. I think like choreographic process too. I've noticed how I am very organized, and I'm not an organized person. Like if you see my room, like it's so messy, but it's so interesting that like my process is very organized and very intentional. Whether it's like, okay, like for the next few minutes we're gonna do notes, or the next few minutes we're gonna do this and things like that. That really comes from my Japanese mannerism. And shout out to my parents for just like teaching me how to find that organization and flow, but also we are very thankful and intentional, and trying our best to be kind to ourselves and to others. And so when I teach, I always start off being like, you guys, thank you so much for coming to class. And I don't know why my brain's coming to this, but like, for example, when we like have dinner or when we have food, we always have to say itadakimasu, which is like, thank you for the meal. And then when we finish the food, we say gochisousama, which is like, thank you for providing us this meal. And I feel like I kind of have that gratitude and appreciation whenever we are able to hold rehearsals or hold classes. Like, even, with like any classes, like if I have 5 people or if I have 20 people, if I have however many people, I'm so thankful that everybody, like those people chose to be there for an hour and a half, and they're stuck with me doing hard choreography. Very hard. But I mean, all this to say, I'm just so like, again, I'm like just practicing gratitude, and I try to like shower that, and hopefully it is contagious, and it could spark more gratitude and love and appreciation for anything.
Is there like a different aspect of that comes into play in terms of your role as director of authenticity, particularly with people that you work consistently with? Yeah,
absolutely. I have an admin team. Shout out Jen, Danny, and Lissy.
We love Jen here.
Yeah. And then Lissy like works for World of Dance
Lissy
too.
works for World of Dance. She is World of Dance.
And I think we start like when we like have rehearsals or when we do things and stuff like that, we're not like, we have to get this thing done ASAP. It's like, let's have fun, let's just dance and everything. But we have that balance of like finding and just like laughing during rehearsals, and then also like getting our ish together. And I think it really comes from just like the passion, the compassion for all of us doing what we love to do. So.
Yeah. And do you feel like choreography wise, is there anything different from your teachings and director roles that you feel like you're really implementing your identity in? I know we touched on it earlier, but maybe like a very specific moment in your choreographic process.
I think like, I'm trying to, well, okay, there's a lot of rules in Japanese mannerism. A lot of rules, like to the point that there's chopstick rules, for example. I don't know why I'm talking about food. It's all food
She's
now.
Hungry, guys.
But with the amount of rules that we have, I think process-wise, I also create my own rules. And I don't necessarily say it to them like vocally, but rather like kinesthetically, like can you keep up, kind of thing. And it's hard. My stuff is hard. I feel like we set this, like we need a this is hard counter.
We do need one. We also need you to go watch some of her work so that you can understand why it's required for us to say that it's hard 50 times.
And what makes it hard is that I don't say anything because I'm kind of in my own world, and then and then they have to just grasp it. They have to go for it. But I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. So I have to like recognize everybody like, okay, like my stuff is not easy. So with the rules that I create, it's kind of like up to the dancers to be like, okay, what is it that I have to keep up? But I think mentally it's a really fun and stimulating process to myself and to the dancers to kind of just like think and being present too, because oftentimes, especially in the society today, we don't really like, we're on our phones and we don't, whatever. That's another thing too. Like, I never have my phone during a process. I'm always present. And I want to be present with everybody. And honestly, time goes by so fast and I have way too much fun. And sometimes I don't do anything for the 2 hours. But we get a lot of things done as well. So yeah, I think also being present.
Yeah, I totally see that. Also, just for you guys, again, that don't know what a process with Azuki looks like. And this specifically applies to your choreographic process, not necessarily, obviously, your teaching experiences as offstage or liminal or ML. But particularly if you're in a process with Azuki, she loves to do this thing where she teaches the combo it's kind of more so like follow along, you were saying, like keep up. And then once you finally feel like you have it down and you know what's going on, she'll play the music. And the music is lightning speed.
Fast.
And mind you, we're doing like isolation based, very sharp, short movements that are super incredibly fast as is. And then we play the music and then it's insanely faster, and it is just the biggest struggle because, again, as a dancer in your process, I'm trying to help you achieve your view your concept as much as possible and whatever you're trying to portray. And that comes with picking up the movement and being able to execute it the way that you want it, to the music and the musicality however you want it, which is a very, very, very difficult thing to do with Azuki's movement. But it is always such a huge push and such a great space to be in, where you're kind of pushing your physical and mental a little bit further than you would normally, I would say.
For sure. Yeah. Music's lightning fast. I have, and again, as a teacher too, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, and I know that my stuff is fast. I will say, I found out in GarageBand, you could slow down music.
Yes.
So I've been doing that. I also do this thing called looping, where you highlight a section and then in the music, and then it just keeps on going. So whenever we need to drill things, I do that to the dancers. And I actually teach really fast choreography for Artist Simply Human, and everybody's like, it's so hard, but also they tell me that it is rewarding when they get it. And that's what matters. It's not about the select groups. It's not about like doing it solo and getting it footage and stuff like that. I think that's a cherry on top. But I want to, it's really about the process over product. And if they don't get it that day, like I always tell them, go to the studio. Like that's what training is for. If you want to get it, like if you really want to get it, like go to the studio the next day and like try to like figure out, the muscle memory of things, especially when they don't know, they probably have never taken my class before. Like I always tell them it takes me forever to create like a fast 4/8 count, and I'm teaching this to you in 15 minutes. Like that is an accomplishment itself, And so for me, I'm like, I know the stress. I understand. Like it's taking me weeks to figure out, and it's gonna take you 15 minutes. I'm forcing you to do it in 15 minutes, and I always tell them like, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be too hard on yourself. Like, I'm just pushing you in the best way. And I'm always communicative as well of like, do we need anything? And like, do we need to slow it down? Do we need to loop it or anything? I try to like communicate with the dancers, because at the end of the day, they're paying for my class, which means a lot, you know, and I want them to have that authority of like, this is my class over this is my class, like Azuki's class. Like, they're paying for it to expand their knowledge. So,
and at the end of the day, that push that you give them is what keeps your community coming back every time. Also, you were mentioning your teaching for Art is Simply Human, and that just made me think I can't even imagine taking your class without a mirror, because
oh my gosh,
she is so specific in her arm placements and shapes that she's making. So not being able to see that through a mirror, I can't even imagine, especially same. As a younger audience as well. But again, that kind of challenge and that push is what keeps people coming back and keeps people wanting to watch your work. I want to know, within your teachings, if you kind of create a space where you are not, I wouldn't say forcing, I would say implementing cultural identity awareness within your dancers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I try to look at every single person in the room. And I think that comes with inclusivity and providing accessibility with anybody. Fun fact, when I was injured, I took class in a wheelchair. And from then on, with that experience, I realized like, anyone can dance. Like, any ability, any POC, like anyone can dance. So I actually and I just don't stop moving. Like, I always like walk around, and like, if you see me, like, I'm always like moving around, like, you know, like chair like this and stuff like that. But when I teach at a big ballroom, I'm always just like walking around in the space rather than just the front people. And I think within the identity that I have, I want to provide the inclusivity to everybody and see the different backgrounds that they have. Like, for example, like if, I don't know, actually, like, I was in Chicago last week. There were primarily like house dancers, which was really cool, because like Chicago footwork. Like, one side of the room really had that like footwork thing, or like with their freestyle, and I wanted to provide that opportunity for them to like just, you know, dance like what they want to do like that. Or other people had more of like a whacking kind of background, and I want them to like be like, dude, do it, like, go for it. At the end of the day, like, my choreography is my choreography within my background, but also I want other people to shine within the background that they have in their dancing.
Totally. Is there any advice that you have specifically for artists that are trying to connect with their own identities, both culturally and in kind of more of an artist world?
Trust the process. It takes a long time. I'm still figuring it out. And I think when we gather these resources of recognizing our identity, it's like, now what can we do with it? And for me, I'm utilizing it kinesthetically, musically, mathematically, like anything within that. It takes time, but also like, don't be hard on yourself and be kind to yourself as well. Because from who you are today is going to be completely different from who you are tomorrow. So
what is next for yourself in your process of discovery and self-exploration, particularly regarding your cultural identity?
I don't know. I mean, so I'm like practicing my Japanese still. Like I'm fluent in Japanese, but I still keep up with it. So I'm watching a lot of anime to make sure. And I definitely want to work with more Japanese artists. This kind of like skews a little bit within my cultural identity, but I found out that I am on the spectrum, which has opened a lot of doors for me to recognize like who I really am and like why I have these like I don't know, like things like personality traits and things like that. So, and it's cool to like figure out like, oh, like I like this but I don't. I have a hard time with social cues, sometimes I don't. You know, but I like to embrace myself with it. And yeah, I love reading like scholarly like research journals to just recognize like, okay, like as an Asian, you know, as a Japanese first generation woman, like what are the research data and stuff like that. But that's nerdy me. But I watch anime to make sure I know my Japanese. That's my next thing.
That's your next thing.
My next thing.
Totally. I mean, I feel like whenever I feel a little further away from my culture, I always just will put on a Mexican show, something in Spanish, music in Spanish, and it always kind of just brings you back immediately. It kind of sucks you in to your world without even, it grounds you a lot. So I can totally understand that. Yeah. Do you have any advice or any comments that you would give your younger self in her exploration of cultural identity?
Oh my gosh, advice. I mean, I want to say that I am proud of this past self. Just keep going, never give up. And there's going to be a lot of obstacles. Like life is not going to be positive the whole time. I believe in when there is a positive, there's going to be a negative, and it's up to us to determine like how we can move that pathway into those obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, this whole episode you've really been talking about all of these different building blocks that compose who you are as a person, and it's really beautiful to be able to see every single individual building block kind of splayed out, you know? And then seeing and knowing you as a person and how those influence who you are and the decisions you make is such a beautiful thing to talk about. So I really, really appreciate you for being so open and sharing that with the community, because that is at the end of the day what we're trying to do here, just give as much opportunity to, again, the people that are shaping this community, to provide knowledge to the younger generations that are, you know, incoming, and creating a space in which dance lives very freely and artistic creation lives very freely is one of our goals for sure. And I think you really accomplished that today with the information that you shared with us. That is all we have for you guys today. Thank you so, so much for coming with us on this episode of Inside HQ. Azuki, please go ahead and look into the camera and let us know any upcoming projects you have.
Oh my gosh.
Teaching, classes, anything you'd like.
Well, I am going to have a show called And When the Heart Opens in May 18th. It is a show that is produced by Authenticity, with featuring emerging choreographers in LA and OC. I teach bi-weekly at Offstage, and I will be teaching weekly in May at Movement Lifestyle. So I'm just excited to just share and do what I love to do. And then I'll be traveling a lot. If you're not in California, I'll be traveling a lot in the Midwest and the East Coast if you want to take my class.
Yeah, amazing. Make sure to go check out Azuki's content. Again, if you want to know exactly how hard her movement is, just go watch one of her videos, one of the World of Dance performances, preferably, because they are absolutely incredible. Again, thank you so much for coming on, Azuki. That's all we have for you guys today. We'll see you on the next episode of Inside HQ. Thank you. Bye.